Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaimudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati ruttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome everybody to this Saturday satsang. So it's a special satsang today. So Monday is the most awaited Sri Krishna Janmashtami. So today we're going to hear about the so-called birth of Krishna. Krishna has no birth, but still he takes birth. So this is the Achintya Beda Tattva. It's inconceivable how the Supreme Lord, who doesn't have any birth, takes birth. So in Bhagavad Gita, 2-3 important verses. So Krishna is saying in the 4th chapter, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Then he says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tatpatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna. So beautiful sequence of verses in the 4th chapter, which is called Transcendental Knowledge, where Krishna is specifically, he is revealing the nature of his appearance in this material world. So he says that his appearance is Atma Karanat. He decides to appear, and he appears in his own transcendental body. Krishna is not forced to appear like any of us. We are all forced by material nature, right? We have to take birth in a particular family. We have to take birth, in a particular country. We have to have a certain type of body. If we have, lived meaningfully in our previous life, then we will get a human body. Otherwise, we will get lower species, etc., etc. Right? But his birth is not controlled by this. He is the controller of all our births, right? So understanding Krishna's appearance is inconceivable. It's very difficult to understand. Actually, it is said that Krishna's appearance, Leela itself, is revealed to different, what should we say? So there is like a complete understanding, more complete understanding, most complete understanding of Krishna's appearance. Different paramparas explain Krishna's birth slightly differently based on their parampara and so many other factors. Gaudiya Vaishnava parampara is actually the most exalted that this material world has seen and will see, because the Lord himself, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came and gave us this process of Krishna consciousness. And our acharyas, like specifically today, I'm going to discuss from Sri Gopala Champu, which is written by Srila Jiva Goswami. So Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, all the 6 Goswamis, Raghunath Dasa Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Gopala Bhatta Goswami, all of them are exalted personalities. They are non-different. They're actually the personal, they're personally serving Srimati Radharani and Krishna in Goloka Vrindavan. Now, who can give us more authentic information than them? Because they're right there. They're right there where action is happening. Right. So, for the benefit of the fallen souls, these great eternal associates of the Lord, they came down to give us this knowledge of Krishna's appearance. So, it is the most complete. It is the most complete. So we are very fortunate that we are connected to Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, Srila Prabhupada. So mercifully, I mean, Tuesday, Monday is Sri Krishna Janmashtami, Tuesday is appearance day of Srila Prabhupada, and unprecedented, unparalleled Acharya, unparalleled, right? So there are many great Acharyas, we know, but nobody spread the Krishna consciousness movement so wide as Srila Prabhupada did, right? Mostly previously, Acharyas were more, restricted to so-called Bharata Bhumi in that sense, right? But Srila Prabhupada's Guru, so we also want to glorify Srila Prabhupada. Maybe, sometime I will create some time slot where, English, Kannada devotees will hear more, but because they are more available English. This group, slightly difficult to find suitable time. So we'll see. Maybe tomorrow evening, I'm thinking if we can do on hearing glories of Srila Prabhupada. So his spiritual master asked him multiple times to go and preach in English in the West, right? And he took that. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekah kurunandanah bahusaka hinantascha buddhayo vyasayinam. So he took that as the goal of his life, and that is what everybody needs to do. Take the instructions of Guru as the goal of his life. And at the age of 70 years, I mean, when people don't come out of their house, Srila Prabhupada left India to go to the West to preach this whole Krishna consciousness, right? And by his mercy, actually, we are able to understand all these things. Otherwise, we are not qualified to understand all this. So it's amazing. It's amazing. The whole parampara is just amazing. So today we will hear about Krishna's appearance. Okay, so so this is history. Normally we've heard that Krishna is the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. So today we will understand more deeper into this topic. Okay. So previously there was a Kshatriya king by name Devamida. Devamida had 2 wives. So he was a Kshatriya. So he had 2 wives. One was a Kshatriya wife, and another was a Vaishya wife. So previously in the Varnashrama system, this was allowed, where a higher order Purusha can marry a same order or lower order Stri. Like a Kshatriya can marry a Kshatriya or a Vaishya, but a Kshatriya cannot marry a Brahmana girl. So Kshatriya, the Kshatriya wife gave birth to a son by name Shura. And the Vaishya wife gave birth to a son by name Parjanya. So this Parjanya was a great devotee of Vishnu. All his life he worshipped Lord Vishnu. And because he was a Vaishya, so Devamida was ruling Mathura. So Shurasena remained in Mathura. Then Parjanya, he left and he went to live in Mahavan. Now this is forest in Braja, this area called Braja Mandal. So Parjanya, and of course, when Nanda Maharaj was actually, he was based in Mahavan till so many disturbances started happening, and then he moved to Vrindavan. So he had, Parjanya had 5 sons. They're all called, they all had the name Nanda in them. Upananda, Abhinanda. Then the middle son was Nanda. Then there was Sananda and Nandana. And Shurasena gave birth to Vasudeva among and other children. So Devamida had 2 wives. Kshatriya son Shurasena, who gave birth to Vasudeva. Vaishya son was Parjanya, who gave birth to 5 sons, among whom Nanda was the middle son. So actually, time comes when Parjanya, he wants to give up his, he's finished his varnashram, like grihastha, then he wants to enter the forest, and he wants to focus his energies in serving the Supreme Lord. So then when the time comes, Parjanya, because Upananda was the eldermost, so Parjanya gives the whole empire, his Vaishya, so the whole empire to Upananda. But Upananda, who was the eldest son, right? He says, this is from Gopal Champu verbatim. She says everyone wants affection, and affection is dependent on good qualities. And he says that Nanda has all the good qualities. He desires to worship others and wants to make them happy. So Upananda glorifies Nanda's great qualities and says that I am Upananda. Upa means under or subordinate. So he said that let Nanda, who is the repository of all good qualities, let him take over the empire, and I will be his advisor. So like this, Nanda Maharaj was known for his amazing good qualities. And Parjanya, before he retires, he advises. He gives a summary of scriptures to Nanda Maharaj. This is very nice. Just 4 lines. He says, what is the cause of fear? The cause of fear is karma. Karma. Because we have done karma, then we don't know what the reactions are going to come. So that is the cause of fear. What is the shelter for this fear? How do we get shelter from this fear? Bhakti to the Lord. Bhakti to the Lord. What is the most cherished object? This is amazing. What is the most cherished object in this whole world? Devotees. Devotees. What is happiness? Real happiness. It's Krishna Prema. So 4 questions, 4 answers, complete essence of all the scriptures. So Parjanya was such a great devotee. Right? What is the cause of fear? Karma. What is the shelter for this fear? Bhakti to Krishna. What is the most cherished object? Devotees. What is happiness? Krishna Prema. So Parjanya retires, and Nanda Maharaj takes over the empire, and he's taking care of the Vaishya empire. So when the time comes, Nanda Maharaj marries Sumukha. There is another Gopala by name Sumukha, his daughter, whose name was Yashoda. Yashoda means giver of yash or fortune, or so she is also full of good qualities. So both of them were bestowed with abundant qualities, and all were happy with the affection of the couple. I mean, they were like an ideal couple. Both Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata, both of them were exalted personalities. But there was one issue. But both of them, even after many years of marriage, they did not have a son. Then everybody advises Nanda Maharaj and all the elder brothers, saying that, why don't you do some sacrifices? There are so many sacrifices that can help the couple get children. So sacrifices were performed, but there was no result, which is strange, because normally karma kanda, if the process given in the Vedas is perfectly followed, then the results have to come. But in this case, results were not coming, and everybody is like wondering what is going on. And Nanda Maharaj was thinking, I am not getting a son because the kind of son I am desiring is the most wonderful, more wonderful than all others. And such a son cannot be given by any sacrifice, because he cannot be, that is a karma, and he cannot be got by karma, because he is the cause of all karma. He's the cause of all karma. So Nanda Maharaj wanted Supreme Lord to be his son, who is the cause of all karma, to be his son. Now, how can any ordinary karma kanda sacrifice be able to give that result? So then husband and wife, they discuss and they say, I think we should perform austerities. We should perform austerities for Vishnu, Narayana, because there is nobody else who can actually bestow our desire, which is to have the Supreme Lord himself as our son. And also, Nanda Maharaj had a vision of a child, and that vision of that child was actually, that form was that of Krishna. They said, okay, we're going to engage in the service of Narayana. I said, what is the service? Oh, we will do, intense austerities on Dwadashi. On Dwadashi day, we'll do intense austerities for 1 year. For 1 year. So they do this for 1 full year. They do very nicely these austerities. And at the end of 1 year, Narayana appears to both of them in a dream. And then he says, when you have such intense devotion to me, why are you lamenting? That boy who is blue like a Atasi flower. Okay, this Atasi flower is like a blue colored flower. Maybe, you can search on the internet. I'm sure you will get Atasi, Atasi. That boy blue like an Atasi flower will appear as your son, and he will spread his bhakti in every kalpa. So it's so nice, right? Narayana is saying, you have such intense devotion to me. How can it be that you cannot achieve your desires? You will achieve your desires. So don't lament. So this shows saying that, if we have, and of course, the desires were not material, right? So when we say you can achieve any desire, not material desire. So spiritual desire. And what do we need to do to get spiritual desires fulfilled? Intense devotion to Krishna, intense devotion to Krishna. And Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda are showing by example. They engaged in severe austerities. And Narayana is assuring that boy, blue like a Atasi flower, will appear as your son. That boy, Krishna. So Krishna, so relationship with the Lord must be one of pure prema. And Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata had pure prema for Krishna, because there was no other reason. Their only reason was that I want to serve. We want to serve Krishna as his parents. So Srila Jiva Goswami says that this was their nature. And as a result, because they had this nature and such pure prema, they could hold Krishna in their minds. Because for 1 whole year, when they were doing this penance, they were continuously thinking about Krishna. Manmana bhavamad bhakto, manmana bhavamad bhakto. But how is it possible for somebody, and that is samadhi state? How is it possible for somebody to have Krishna in their minds all the time? Because they had pure prema for Krishna. So when one has pure prema for Krishna, love for Krishna, then Krishna will reside in our hearts, minds continuously. So because they had pure prema, Krishna decided to appear as their son. Of course, Krishna is eternally the son of Nanda and Yashoda. And of course, for the Bhauma Leela that he was performing, he had to appear, and again, he chooses. Krishna chooses his parents, unlike we choose. We can't choose our parents. Krishna chooses his parents, and his eternal parents are Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavan, in Vraj. Now the question is isn't Vasudeva and Devaki also parents of Krishna? Yes, but the Rasa Tattva, it says that Vasudeva had reverential attitude towards Vishnu or Krishna. He had Audarya, that respect and adoration for the Lord. But Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda had pure prema for the Lord. They said, okay, Supreme Lord, it's okay. We will be their parent, his parents. But Vasudeva had lot of reverence, respect for the Lord. So it is said that his prema was a little bit weaker than Nanda and Yashoda. This is from Srila Jiva Goswami. But Vasudeva and Devaki had also done austerities to get Lord as their child. So Krishna also had to appear as their son. So let's see what happens, right? So Vasudeva and Devaki, now we know that Vasudeva and Devaki, they get married, and then Kamsa is driving the, is holding the reins of the chariot, and suddenly there is voice in the sky which says that the 8th child of Devaki is going to kill Kamsa. So then Kamsa was determined to kill Devaki right there on the day of the marriage, but Vasudeva was very philosophically advanced, and he makes such a beautiful argument. First he talks about we are not body, we are the spirit soul is eternal, all this is temporary. As soon as we are born, we start our death process, so every year birthday we celebrate, we are 1 year closer to death. So he gives all philosophy, but Kamsa is a demon. He is not influenced by all this logic. So then Vasudeva decides, saying that, okay, anyway, the danger is from Devaki's 8th son. So he tells Kamsa, see, problem is with Devaki's 8th son. So I will give you my word saying that every son that is born to us, I will come and hand over that son to you. Your danger is not from Devaki. Why do you want to kill Devaki? It is the 8th son. And Vasudeva thinks, see, in case, anyway, if there are no children, then we don't have to worry. And if suppose say there are children and the 8th one is anyway going to kill Kamsa, then that's also fine, right? So we don't have to worry. So Devaki her life will be saved. And eventually Kamsa will be punished for his acts. So then Kamsa allows, but then the first son is born. Kamsa somehow feels, Vasudeva is respecting his words, and he says, it's okay, take him back. But then Narada Muni comes because he wants to expedite the appearance of the Lord, and in case the child is not killed, then don't know how many years it's going to take for 8 children to be born, because the 8th child who's going to kill Kamsa. So Narada Muni wants to expedite the appearance of the Lord for different reasons. So then he meets Kamsa and informs him about how everybody who had appeared in the Yaduvamsha were all demigods and Vishnu's associates, and that they were all waiting for the Lord to appear. And so then he also reminds Kamsa that he was Kalanemi in the previous life. who was again an Asura. So then Kamsa decides to start to kill all the children of Devaki and Vasudeva. So first year, first child, then one after another, 6 years, 6 children are killed. And then there is also Acharya say that these 6 sons they're called Shad Garbhasuras. They were actually sons of Marichi, who was the son of Brahma. Once Brahma during creation, for some reason he creates a daughter, and then he somehow starts running behind his daughter for with a sexual urge. And so looking at this, the sons of Marichi kind of mock at Brahma, and then they get cursed for that. And their curse is that they have to be killed by their own father. So first they are born as children of Hiranyakashipu, then they are born as children of Kalanemi, and they had to be killed by Kalanemi. In the next life, Kalanemi became Kamsa. And since they had to be killed by Kamsa, they appeared as children of Vasudeva and Devaki. So 6 of them, and they were killed by Kamsa, who was their father Kalanemi in the previous life. So these 6 were killed. Now these 6 were Asuras because they disrespected Brahma. Now now we discussed this last week as part of Balaram glorification of Lord Balaram, that before now the Lord appears, now Devaki's womb had to be purified from this contamination of this Shad Garbhasuras. And then Lord Balaram appears as the 7th pregnancy, and then he lives his expansion Shesha in the womb of Devaki for making all facilities ready for Krishna to appear. Then there is Rohini, who was Vasudeva's wife, who was sent by Vasudeva to Vrindavan when she was 3 months pregnant. So at this point of time, Krishna enters into the heart of Yashoda. So now both 2 births are happening side by side. So in Mahavan, so Krishna had already entered Nanda's heart, and from Nanda's heart, he entered Yashoda's heart. Also, a girl child entered her womb. It was the twin sister. This was twin sister. So 2 children were born to Nanda and Yashoda, will be born to Nanda and Yashoda. So Krishna appears in her heart, and there is this girl who enters her womb, and she's Yogamaya. So as soon as Yogamaya appears, then she destroys this 7-month embryo in Rohini's womb, transfers Balaram from Devaki's womb into Rohini's womb. So Devaki's 7th pregnancy was a miscarriage, and people feel that okay, she didn't give birth to a son, but Balaram was transferred to Rohini's womb, and then Rohini takes birth. Now, after Rohini, Balaram takes birth, then it is described saying that he was very dull because his Lord Krishna is not appeared, and he's there to serve him, and he's waiting. But whenever he goes and sits on Yashoda's lap, he'll become jubilant. He'll become very happy because Krishna was in her heart. So on this 28th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manvantara, because Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma, in the 7th Manu, and 28th Yuga cycle. So this is Ashtami of Bhadra month, Krishna Paksha, Rohini Nakshatra, Lord appeared. So Krishna was born here in Mahavan to Yashoda. So Krishna was also born, and then Yogamaya was also born. Now at the same time, Krishna was also born to Vasudeva and Devaki. Now this Krishna is called Vasudeva Krishna. Vasudeva is an expansion. So from Krishna comes Balaram, from Balaram comes Chaturvyuha, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, Pradyumna. So that Vasudeva appears in his four-armed form, who is not different from Krishna, yet different. So he appears in his four-armed form in, like small child, but with helmet and with curly hair and, Shankha Chakra Gada Padma and beautiful dress, yellow garments and, Vishnu. And then Devaki and Vasudeva offer beautiful prayers to the Lord. And then Devaki, in her, like parental love, she requests the Lord saying that if you appear like this, Kamsa will know that you are Krishna, you're the Supreme Lord. And then he will kill you, because that was the, prediction. So she requests, please change yourself to a normal baby. Normal baby. So Krishna, who was born in Gokula, in Mahavan, so he comes to Mathura, and the four-armed Vishnu merges into the body of the two-armed Krishna, because Krishna is the source of all incarnations. And all the incarnations actually emerge from the body of Krishna. So when Krishna appeared, the Vishnu form merged into his body. And so Vasudeva and Devaki saw two-armed Krishna, baby Krishna. And they thought that, okay, the four-armed Krishna changed himself to two-armed Krishna. But no, the two-armed Krishna who was born in Gokul, he came to Mathura and the four-armed form merged into him. So which means Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj now had only one child who was a daughter. So Krishna from there came here, and the Vasudeva Krishna merged into his body. So Krishna seemed to have been born in Mathura. And of course, then Krishna, because of all these prayers, then Krishna tells Vasudeva, saying that, please take me to Gokul. You don't worry. They were all very worried that Krishna is going to, Kamsa is going to kill. He says, no, don't worry. Just take me to Gokul. And then there's a girl child there, you bring her. So Vasudeva takes Krishna on in a basket, and he carries him on his head. And Krishna was so beautiful, so effulgent, so brilliant that the night, and it was night, and the night almost looked like day. And the Lord is, playfully, he's playing, and then there is a huge storm and rain outside. But Vasudeva had to take, and he was all chained and in the jail. How will he take him? And then Yogamaya was already there. So Yogamaya arranges. So immediately, she's of course, Lord has infinite energies. So she's the superior energy, and she takes care of. And of course, then there is Leela Shakti, Icha Shakti, many energies of the Lord. So Yogamaya takes care of, removing all those shackles, and then all the gates open, and the soldiers are all sleeping. So Vasudeva very easily just takes Krishna and just walks out of the prison. And now there is huge rain, Vasudeva did not even think for a moment, oh, how will I go? Because he was ordered by the Lord saying, take me to Gokul. So he just simply went. And this is how we have to do devotional service. When Guru orders, we have to just try to follow without thinking whether we can, okay, is this good, not good? No intelligence, just follow. So Vasudeva just took Krishna and he started walking. Now, as soon as he started, now immediately the Lord will help his devotee. So immediately Anantashesha comes with his hoods spread out so that there is no water which would fall on Krishna and Vasudeva. And Vasudeva reaches the banks of Yamuna, and she's like roaring huge waves, and and how can we cross? He had to cross from Mathura to Gokul. He had to cross Yamuna. And then Yamuna is also a devotee of the Lord, very dear devotee of the Lord. And she sees, oh, my Lord is here. Suddenly she parts, parts and creates a way for Vasudeva to walk. Of course, then there are different variations here. One says that, it became low, the water became reduced. And when the water became reduced, Krishna wanted to please Yamuna. So he kind of puts his legs into the water, and and another version says that he also fell into the water, and Vasudeva had to frantically lift him from the water, because this was his leela. He wanted to please Yamuna Devi by bathing in her waters. So there are various versions of the Shastra, and everything is possible with Krishna, and it would have happened at different times, different yugas, etc., etc. So then Vasudeva crosses Yamuna, and then he goes to Nanda Maharaj. Now Nanda Maharaj and Vasudeva, because we read, right, like they were actually like relatives, right, because both of them had the same grandfather, was Devamida. So they were cousins in that sense. And so they're very close relatives. So he just simply walks into Nanda Maharaj's house, and then goes into where Yashoda gave birth to a girl child, and simply just keeps Krishna there, takes the girl, and walks off. And then he goes back, and then we know that again. Kamsa is informed that a baby is born. Kamsa comes down, and then he tries to take that baby girl, and Devaki pleads to Kamsa, saying, this is a girl, she will become your daughter-in-law. Don't kill her. But Kamsa is so brutal. He takes her and he throws her down to kill her, then slaps her on the wall, on the floor. But then she suddenly rises up and shows her Durga form with 8 arms, and tells Kamsa, saying that the child which is going to kill you, who's going to kill you, is already born elsewhere. And then she vanishes. And then everyone was very happy with the birth of Krishna, because now when Yashoda, because of her labor pain, she didn't know, she didn't figure out, she didn't understand who was born. Was it a girl? Was it a boy? And it is also said that, by Yogamaya's arrangement, the midwife was also not there, who was supposed to give birth to Yashoda. So Yashoda was actually alone when she gave birth to Krishna and Yogamaya. And now Krishna is here, Yogamaya goes, and so there's only one child, and everybody looks at it and says, oh, okay, Krishna is born. So then there's a great festival, which is Nandotsav, which we are going to celebrate on Tuesday. So everybody is so beautifully, and everybody suddenly here, after so many years of wait, Nanda and Yashoda have given birth to a son. So they all dress very well, and they rush. Beautiful discussion about how nice garments they are wearing, and so much of ornaments, and both the Gopas and the Gopis, they come rushing with different gifts and auspicious articles to be offered to Krishna, and they come. And their way of celebration was, of course, there is so much of music and all Vedic, music and glorification of, chanting from Vedic mantras, and Brahmanas chanting various hymns, etc., etc. And all the Vaishyas, they're very happy. And their way of enjoying was, they start throwing milk products at each other, right? Like butter, cheese, etc. And it is said that, by just doing Goraksha, cow protection, they were all very affluent, very rich. They could throw literally, all these very expensive milk products at each other, and that was their way of celebrating. Then they all go into the Yamuna, and then they bathe, and the festival was over. then people start coming in huge numbers to see the Lord. So like one day, we're going to have so many throngs of people coming, waiting for the 12 o'clock when, the altar will open and the Aarti happens. And that is the time when Krishna was born. And everybody standing in a queue, like, you go to Tirupati and they say Padandi, Jargandi. Now everybody's there and so many people in the queue, they are coming and looking at Krishna, but they are not given enough time. So they were not satisfied at all. They wanted to see him more because he was so beautiful. And it is said that those who saw him and went home, they kept seeing him in their minds for several days. This is Krishna consciousness. The Lord is so beautiful, Madhuram. We chanted this, Madhurastakam. It's so beautiful. Krishna is beautiful. Everything about Krishna is sweet. And the Shastra says that Krishna is sweeter than Narayana, Vishnu, Vaikuntha. Krishna is more beautiful. Krishna is more sweeter. Because Krishna has 4 qualities which even Vishnu doesn't have or Narayana doesn't have. Which is Rupa Madhurya, Venu Madhurya, Bhakta Madhurya and Leela Madhurya. So Krishna is beautiful. Krishna is sweet. Actually, it is said in another, Krishna forgets himself. So when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tattvataha, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that this Tattvataha means to know the sweetness of the Lord. And what does the sweetness mean? Sweetness means that Krishna simply forgets his omnipotence, that he is the all-powerful. He just forgets. So when he is in the middle of his Leela, he just simply thinks that he is an ordinary child. And this is described as his sweetness. So this particular appearance of the Lord, I mean, it is the most dearest because Krishna doesn't take birth in Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual world. So this Leela happens only in Bhauma Vrindavan. And it is so attractive so that, it can attract the hearts and minds of all of us who are stuck in this miserable material world. So his Janma and Karma are Divyam, they're transcendental. We should not look at Krishna and say, oh, he took birth like an ordinary child, or we should not suspect, oh, how is it possible? Krishna is born here, born there. Why all this complication? We are not the ones who can decide that. It is the Lord's desire, and whatever the Lord desires happens. And this is how he wants to appear in this material world. So his Janma is transcendental. His Karma is transcendental. Whenever Krishna acts, he accomplishes multiple things at one shot. He's Achintya. He's Achintya. And so his appearance bewilders people, and they start thinking that he's he's just an ordinary boy. But no, maybe he's very great personality. Whatever, all kinds of speculations. So by just hearing this, Krishna is so powerful. Krishna's Nama, Krishna's Leela is as powerful as the Lord because they're not different, because they're all transcendental. And it is said that in this miserable Kali Yuga, simply by hearing, in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is glorification of how simply by hearing the pastimes of the Lord will become established in our heart as an irrevocable fact, which means that he will not go out. Which means just by the hearing process, hearing the beautiful Leela of the Lord and understanding, appreciating means like, wow, I mean, this is so nice. His inconceivable Leela, just by listening to that. And when we hear Leela, we should be part of that Leela. So now all the time, discussing Gokul, and our minds would have automatically raised to create an image of Gokul, to create an image of Mathura. Then, there's a jail, there's Nanda, there's Yashoda, there's Vasudeva, Devaki, and Vasudeva crossing the Yamuna. All of this, so we were just with Krishna all along. And just this process of listening, when we do it so sincerely, our mind, hearts, everything is with the Lord, right there with the Lord. So Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes are themselves, they're not different from Krishna. So they purify us. That is why I said Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Bhakti becomes Naistiki, Nishta, firm, fixed, simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is very interesting to know that Krishna's Leela in Bhauma Vrindavan, the difference between Krishna's pastimes here and Krishna's pastimes there, there are no demons in the spiritual world, because the whole concept of friend, enemy, etc., demon, divine, all this exists only in the material world, because in the spiritual world it's all divine. So there are no enemies of Krishna. So these killing of these enemies are all that happens only in earthly pastimes of the Lord. And our acharyas, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Chaitanya Shikshamrita, so he's described how all these various asuras are all various manifestations of our anarthas. And Krishna actually kills all those anarthas if we surrender to him. There are only two anarthas which we have to put a lot of effort, which are killed by the mercy of Balaram, which is our ignorance of our real constitutional position and show of bhakti, but having desire for la puja pratishtha. Now these two, they're not eradicated unless we want it to be eradicated. But all other anarthas, which all the various other asuras that Krishna killed, they get destroyed by just the mercy of the Lord. So if we simply surrender to the Lord, even without our effort, and that is simply by the process of hearing. But it's mostly here, those devotees who hear English are mostly working in the corporate world, and they don't have time. But our Kannada, here group devotees, they're all very fortunate. They have time. So we are doing Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Every day we are reading from Bhagavatam, 3 to 4. So this hearing process, that is why Srila Prabhupada recommended that everybody should read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Act of Devotion. These are the main core books for us. We should read it every day. So the reason for the Lord's appearance in this material world, yes, one is we say yada yada hi dharmasya glani. But actually that is the work of Vishnu. This dharmasya glani is not Krishna's work. Whenever there is dharmasya glani, which keeps happening every now and then, it doesn't happen only once in a day of Brahma, that Vishnu takes care. But Krishna appeared himself. Of course, it was time for Krishna's appearance, and it was also time for the Yoga Avatara. So both of them happened together. And so one side Vasudeva Krishna, who takes care of Dharma Samsthapanarthaya, and other side Nandana Krishna. Nandana Krishna, their intent to appear is to attract devotees, to show the Raga Marga of Bhakti. Raga Marga. So Raga Marga means intense greed. Raga Marga means intense greed for serving Krishna. So there are two paths. One is Vaidhi Bhakti, and then there is Raganuga Bhakti. So Krishna comes to show all of us how his dear disciples in Vrindavan, how they serve him. Because otherwise we will never know, we will never understand. So all the devotees of Vrindavan, of Raj, they're all Ragatmika Bhaktas. They serve Krishna with intense greed. And Krishna came to actually show to his dear devotees what it is to serve him in the mood of Goloka Vrindavan. That was his reason for appearance. Like I said, yada yada dharmasya, Vishnu takes care. So Vishnu, actually, even all the killing of these demons which happened was Vishnu in the body of Krishna. He took care of the killing. Krishna doesn't get involved in all this dharma samstapana. That is all, like taken care by Vishnu. Krishna's only work is to be with his devotees, enjoy pastimes. This is Krishna's work. So that is the reason why Krishna appeared. So there are external reasons, internal reasons. All this we should understand from our acharyas. So please read Srimad Bhagavatam, and gradually once we go through all the 9 cantos, then you can come to the 10th canto, which is so beautiful, nectarian 10th canto. Then our acharyas have various commentaries. So many of our acharyas have written commentaries on Bhagavatam. So once we understand Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam completely, then we can read from our acharyas. Then our Goswamis have given other literatures like this Gopala Champu. So this is what needs to be done to engage our minds. It absorbs us. It absorbs us in Krishna. And we have to fix. So our goal is to come to this fixed position, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. But what is required for that? What is required is to become detached from these material allurements, material attachments, attraction to material things. If you are attracted to material things, that is why when we are chanting, what happens? Because we are attracted to material things, automatically our mind goes towards material things. But if we are attracted towards Krishna, the attraction should be more greater than our attraction to material things. Only then Krishna will remain in our mind. Like Nanda and Yashoda, for 1 year, continuously they held Krishna in their minds. Amazing. I mean, I was trying after I heard this, like, I was trying, can I do this for 5 minutes, 2 minutes? It's so difficult. But at the same time, when we are hearing, so we can't simply sit and do dhyana, right? Very difficult in Kali Yuga. But when you're doing Shravanam, that is why Prabhupada, like, Prahlad Maharaj recommended Navavida Bhakti, and Prabhupada has given so much of stress on hearing and chanting. The chanting, of course, for us, now it might still be slightly tedious. We have to become more and more Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagnam Dhanam Chayadahitukam. So we should develop detachment and knowledge as we practice bhakti. So if somebody is practicing bhakti but they still have material desires, then something wrong, something not being done right. So once that renunciation, the detachment, we don't do Falgu Vairagya, Yukta Vairagya, using everything in Krishna's service. Once we are engaged in that and we are no more attracted to things about this material world, as a next step, what happens is, instead of thinking about material things, we start thinking about our services, which is not ideal, but it is considered auspicious. It's considered auspicious, when we are chanting and our mind is getting hooked on to the services that we are engaged in, and this needs to be done, that needs to be done. It is better than mind getting sucked into material things. That means we have made progress. And then gradually over multiple years, even that mind doesn't stop in the service. Mind simply gets hooked on to just hearing the Lord's name. Because Krishna's name is full of rasa. Nama Chintamani Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Full of mellows. But we don't have taste. We have jaundice. When a person has jaundice, sugarcane juice doesn't taste sweet. It's bitter. You can't even take a drop. But as he keeps consuming little over a period of time, it becomes sweet. Like that, Krishna's nama becomes sweet gradually. But for that, the important thing is material desires, material attachments, desire to make material progress, money, promotion, name, fame. All these will kill bhakti. Will kill bhakti. Bhakti is so powerful. But if you don't want bhakti, then Bhakti Devi will leave us. So we've got this. We are so fortunate, like I was saying, that this process, this parampara is unbelievable. And when we start looking at what our acharyas have written, what Srila Prabhupada has written, it's just out of this world. But we can simply throw it away. Going behind all these material accomplishments, we can simply throw it away. But that's insane. That's really insane. So please meditate another 1.5 days, 2 days, 2.5 days, because anyway, end of Monday is so Monday is fasting. Ideally fast the whole day. Those who cannot due to health reasons, etc., please take care of whatever needs to be done. But others who are strong enough, young enough to be doing this, please fast on Monday. Those who are in Bangalore and who can visit our Sheshadripuram temple, please do so. Recommended time would be possibly after 6 o'clock. There'll be a lot of activities until up to 12 when the Mahamangalarti happens, and after that there'll be prasadam. And the next day is Nandotsav, and appearance day of Srila Prabhupada is celebrated. And we'll glorify Srila Prabhupada. And like I said, maybe if we can get some common time, maybe tomorrow. Otherwise, I will record brief history of Srila Prabhupada's life, brief, and maybe share it on our group, and all of us can hear, because it's very important to hear about. Along with hearing about Krishna, glorifying Krishna, we should also hear about and glorify his devotees. Krishna is more pleased. And Srila Prabhupada is, the commander who came to spread bhakti, Krishna bhakti all over the world. And he did it in style, in class, right? As in how much he accomplished in those, 10 years, 12 years is just amazing, right? So we should hear. In fact, when I came into Krishna consciousness, one of the first things that I did was read about Srila Prabhupada. Just said, I mean, this kind of a personality, you cannot even imagine what he has done at the age of 70 and the kind of hardships that he went through. We'll discuss those, right? And he gave Krishna to us. So it is our duty that we should reciprocate this. And what Srila Prabhupada wants, he wants us to adopt Krishna consciousness in a serious way, follow Krishna Bhakti, pure Krishna Bhakti, right? No Mishra Bhakti, no mixing up with, karma, gnana, or no diluting, pure principles of Krishna Bhakti. Follow, give it to others. Kyale dekho tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. Give this. Prabhupada has given everything in his books. We don't have to invent anything. We don't have to be intelligent at all. The more intelligent we are, the more difficult, dangerous it is, right? So we are dumb. Just read from Srila Prabhupada's books and just give whatever is there. That's all that is required. Just the ability to repeat. Of course, Prabhupada said, don't repeat like a parrot. So which means that we have to think, internalize, practice, all that has to happen. Then realization will come out when we speak. And that will have effect on people. So this glorious appearance of the Lord, let us all hope and pray that, we can all make steady progress and reach this, beautiful state of perfect Krishna consciousness, samadhi, where we can keep thinking about Krishna all the time and parallelly engage in our services, right? Prabhupada coined the word devotional service and not devotion. Devotion can be just mental. Oh, I am such a great devotee of Krishna. Okay, very good. So, but what service are you doing? Because love for somebody means service, right? This beautiful example is given of Somebody newly married wife, oh, husband, I love you so much. Okay, what about dinner? Sorry, no dinner. I didn't cook anything today. That's not love. Love means doing something, right? Practical service. So we should serve. Serve, please Guru, please Srila Prabhupada, please Krishna, and do our sadhana, and then we achieve perfection over a period of time. Okay, so I'll stop here. Unless anybody has any questions, we can discuss. Hare Krishna.